Welcome to the stream tonight. Once again, I'm not by myself. I am joined by Movie Dean. What's going on, Dean? First off, loving the new logo on your stream. It even made it it's on the stream deck. I made it on the stream deck. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah?
There you are on the right side. You made it onto the stream deck with the new logo.
Nice.
I love the new logo.
Dude.
But we are going to be talking all things episode 7 of Ahsoka. So if you haven't hit the poll yet, hit up the poll. Let us know what you think of the episode. I know Dean has some thoughts about the episode. And he even said to me before, he's like, I know you like being positive. I don't know if I can be. Well, I'd rather you be honest, because I think that when we come to this with our honest thoughts, that's where most Star Wars fans feel. I think there's people that usually online will either take one of the extremes, but I like that we can have an actual conversation and chat about what all is going on. And maybe here at one point I'll give you the soapbox and your plea to Dave Filoni on pacing. And you can speak right to Dave because we know he's watching.
Movies to watch.
Yeah, give him some homework. To do.
That sounds so prideful. No, I won't do that.
No, I know. I'm kidding. And I know you're joking. But let's start with what we thought about the episode. The episode opens up with Hera talking to the council with Mon Mothma, who we now finally see first in person. What did you think of this opening, at least, of the show? It wasn't the place I expected. We haven't seen this for a while. And we hop over to Coruscant, and the council about to try to strip General Syndulla of her title and rank.
Yeah. I was surprised, when you look at the little, I don't know about you, as soon as I go into it, I always look at the little description, see if the name is up. The name is never there for the episode.
Yep, never.
But looking at the description, it opened up with Hera has to stand trial or whatever. And I was like, what? Really? I was I keep on thinking that Hera is out of this. That she's I keep on going oh, okay, well, there's no way that they're going to continue to focus on Hera. And every time they come back to her, it's so shocking. Now, this time I actually really loved it. I thought it was actually a really strong place to open up the episode. Cause this is the kind of stuff I really care about. I want to know what the government is like.
Mm-hmm.
We see how awful the military is right now as far as making decisions and whatnot. And part of that is the government too. But I want to see, how they're struggling to make decisions and everything. And I like this, we don't get the huge grand scale of the entire Senate. We just get hey, this is a military court. We got some JAG stuff going on, it was cool to see it. And of course, I mean, there he is, Admiral Akbar. He's there.
And we got Nia Num just before that as well on the other side.
Him?
I'm hoping it is. Let's see if it already went away. That has to be Akbar. You can see the rank.
Yeah, he's got
there.
I think it definitely is him, and it makes sense. As far as all the military officials, correct, it would make sense for Admiral to now be in charge,
Yep.
So I love that. Of course,
that has to be Nia Num, right? Look at his rank. Look at his rank. Is blue 5 higher than the general of General Syndulla, red 5?
I don't know. It's just given how things were in Force Awakens, because he's there in the run on Starkiller Base. I just kind of figured he was still, he's one of those older police officers who just never takes the advancement, just wants to still do the same thing. That's kind of what I figured he would be.
He's always on the beat. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's cool to see these characters. And of course, I mean, whose heartstring wasn't pulled when C-3PO walks in the door here in a minute?
Yeah.
I like the music attached to everything. I thought this was a killer beginning for the episode. Shocking to see it. I thought we were done with Hera, but I thought it was really strong.
I thought so too. I think there was a few minor tweaks that I would have made. I do I am fine with the tension in the New Republic. I do like that they put it in the proper timeline. They gave
Yeah.
us an understanding of Mando 3 when
Hmm.
Carson Teva mentions the Siege of Mandalore,
Yeah.
and everything that's gone on there with Moff Gideon. I do still have the frustration from the previous episodes of, come on, you had hyperdrive stolen, you had multiple TIE fighters, X-Wings, see the Eye of Sion fly off into space. So this isn't just a Hera saying, hey, there's a ship that had 7 hyperdrives that
Yeah.
flew. Like, something happened enough that probably warranted investigation. But obviously they need to raise the tension. And then, of course, yeah, we jump ahead and all of a sudden we've got C-3PO. Now, I'm going to ask a question. Did something seem off to you about 3PO? I mean, obviously it's not exactly the same, but for me, it felt like more than usual, there was the like arching of the back, leaning back. I know that that's what 3PO does, but it felt like right here, like he looks like he's about to fall over to me.
A little bit. Yeah, I guess
And it's,
so. I
and
don't know.
I'm
I guess I wasn't paying as close attention to like how he was walking rather than what he was saying.
correct. And
Like, but yeah, I could see that. He looks like he's like looking at the sky right now when he's supposed to be looking forward. That makes sense.
and he might be looking up at Mon Mothma because she's higher. So I'm not gonna be nitpicky,
Yeah,
but
but she's not up there, dude.
yeah. Oh, hi. God, is that you? Um, here's the thing I wanted him to do more than anything. More than anything, I wanted him to put out his palm and I wanted to see a hologram of Leia.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be a recorded voice message from Leia. I wanted because even you could have done the back of, like, you didn't have to do like full face for very long. It could have been
Oh,
quick.
that's a good point. Yeah,
It's a
you could have
hologram.
found a way.
You
Yeah.
could have done some angles. It would have felt very much like other messages and holograms, like Leia get what she gave to R2D2 that Luke finds. Right? It could have been that, and I think just to get the voice would have been really cool. I understand why they didn't. I'm not upset about it. That was just something looking back on. I'm like, man, that would have been really cool, and it would have
Yeah, it
really
would have been been a
um,
bombshell. Yeah.
put all those folks in their place of like, whoa, like, can you, like, yeah. Anyway, that was my only nitpick. This whole scene I thought was great. I thought the hating of droids coming off of the
Chopper
Clone
looked like
Wars.
he wanted to pick a fight, man.
I
Chopper's
saw
like ready to go.
I saw one person basically say, "Oh, I can't wait till I see Chopper assassinate what's his name, Zono." Like
All
he's
of a
going
sudden,
down the
he
elevator and he just cuts the
wasn't
cord.
programmed for it, but he's an assassin droid now.
Yeah, all of that again. I thought this whole opening sequence, it was quick too. Like it didn't drag. It was just a few minutes, got moving, and it put things in a perspective of, whoa, Leia's really risen the ranks. She's got
Mhm.
pull. Her name carries
And she
weight
would,
with it.
right?
She
Like,
has
she
to.
would. Like, you gotta think about, like, saviors of the freaking galaxy. Of course, they could do whatever they want,
Yeah.
you know? Like, we know how that goes. A
Yeah.
lot of winning generals in wars of the past became leaders of their countries, right? Like, of course, people who led the rebellion would be able to pull some rank every now and again, and I love that Leia had that ability. And
Mm-hmm.
just to hear his voice and the music again, like, this music is just so great throughout this entire episode.
I
But,
saw
like,
someone
just to hear that
complaining
little
about it.
swell of the theme and here he comes. Like, I've never been really happy to see C-3PO since I was a kid. He's so annoying.
He is annoying.
But I was like, "Yes, yes, this is great." And it just got me in the right spot, and then all of a sudden, that's about the
Space
biggest thing
whales.
that happens to me. Like,
Space
honestly, like, this episode, C-3PO is, like, the biggest, coolest thing.
Oh, and I think that's you're well within your right of that. I think there's some things that I enjoyed also, but as a whole, I did not enjoy this episode nearly as much as the others, and
Yeah.
particularly the last two. The last two were just so good, even though they had their flaws, so good. But there's so many things in this episode that it felt like it took time that this show doesn't have. If there was 4 episodes to go, I'm completely good with this episode. It feels like a reset. It feels like a setup for the final 3 episode push.
Yeah.
Dean, we have 40 minutes left of Ahsoka. We have 40 minutes.
Well, here's the thing, man. Like, we talked about it last week about like what would happen if like this is a snoozer, and to me it was. Like, to me it was just a like I think I texted you and was just all I said was filler. Like,
I said
'cause
the
it's
three
just-
the 3 dots. Just
yeah. And now we got like a lot to happen, and I am fully convinced now that we're not going to get answers to any of the interesting things. I don't think we're going to get a single answer other than maybe what's calling Balin. Like, at least like in generalities of what's calling him.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah. We're
all
going
the
to get to
mystery
that.
stuff.
Man,
we're not getting those answers.
I even think we're getting less than what you think, but we'll talk about that. I'm kind of down about that, and that is the only part that hurt about this episode. I think is, man, I needed something more, and I think there's a few things they didn't do in this episode that they should have done. Though I will say this next scene here, I thought was fantastic. There's a few things that happened here. I like the idea of her doing forms and still getting back to basics. Very kung fu, very Japanese samurai training. And then we have an Anakin recorded message, which Huang had no idea that Anakin did. And I think that little thing is very interesting to me. Not to mention, she casually drops the idea and says, he's recorded 20 of these. And so this is her.
Yeah, I think there were even more, man. I think she said 40.
Oh, did she say 40?
I could be wrong. You might be right, but like there's a ton. So they could do a lot with that, right?
Well, not only a lot with
like
that.
The Stan Lee cameos in Marvel.
Oh gosh, no, not. Well, here's another
every show
message.
We're gonna get like just like, oh, let's watch that training thing that Anakin did that one time.
Well, so here's the interesting thing, and I'm not a huge fan of leaks. My channel isn't about like leaking things out and chatting that. Though but I'm gonna say one thing, and if you want to plug your ears and not hear this, that's fine. It was leaked a while ago that that Anakin was going to show up in specific episodes, and it was said which specific episodes Anakin was going to show up in, and this and the finale are 2 of those, and they've been right on all the other leaks. They've been right on how he showed up in basically 5, 6, 7, and 8 has been Anakin. So my question is, okay, they did the recorded message Anakin. We've got the world between worlds. We still don't know what that is, Anakin. What do you think is the Anakin we're going to see in this next episode?
Well, just the way you put that, Jer, I'm pretty sure that you want Force Ghost Anakin. But what I would like to see is Anakin with his feet up, eating a sandwich and being like, yeah, it's good, Ahsoka, in like the training video. Like just eating, I don't know, like have like some space worm sticking out of like a Scooby-Doo looking sandwich. and he's just like, yeah, that one. Good job.
Sipping some blue milk. I
would love to see Force Ghost Anakin.
I wouldn't be mad at that at a joke either. Like I wouldn't be mad at the levity and jokiness between Ahsoka and Anakin that you see in Clone Wars, that you see some of that humor and back and forth. I think that if they're going to do it, it has to be, though, in this last episode, a moment of consequence.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to use it well.
So we'll see what happens. I also think I saw, I don't remember where I saw it. I'm sorry, I don't give good credit when I see things, but I did see one theory that came up in regards to all of these training videos that Ahsoka has about gifting the box of these to Luke.
Oh my goodness. Are you
Now,
kidding me? I would love that. That sounds amazing.
it does, but we don't have time for that.
No, we don't.
We don't have time. We don't have time for anything. I mean, because
You
here
do
she
have
is.
time in the movie, which apparently everything is going to happen in the movie.
So here's the box. She's putting them away. You're right. It looks like there's a ton in there. Oh, I'm not even on the right screen.
Oh,
There's the
sorry.
box. There
I didn't
she's
even
putting them
catch that it
back.
was in a box.
So there's like a wooden, like
Oh,
nice
that's awesome.
sealed box with all the training stuff in there that you have to think at some point her connection with Luke and maybe there's a restoration. Because I will say the thing I really appreciated about this scene was you felt almost this healing happening as she's listening to this uh, motivational speech during her workout, right?
Yeah,
But
for
it
sure.
felt like more. It felt like this was reminding her, and we got that from Huang. Huang hops in and is kind of like, "Whoa, I didn't know Anakin did this." Right?
Yeah.
This is a different side of Anakin I didn't know.
Yeah, he sounds like he doesn't have a very high opinion of Anakin. Like, I don't know if he knows that he becomes Darth Vader or not. He probably does because Ahsoka probably told him.
Sure.
But like, even just as a Jedi, I think he talked about her being from a very unorthodox line or something like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, he doesn't. I don't think he's a huge Anakin fan. So he seemed like, oh, he actually did something right, something good. That's good.
Well, and if you think of Anakin throughout the entire, even just prequels, he was not one for the rules.
Sure.
Huang is a rule follower. Huang is that's not Jedi procedure. That's not Jedi procedure. So of course he would not get along with Anakin. I'm sure
Yeah.
he heard the stories of Anakin and Obi-Wan and Anakin just disregarding everything that he has to say. So I'm interested. I don't think that's going to happen. I love the idea though of this kind of making its way into Luke's hands as Luke is building a school to train Jedi.
It's just going to be sitting on his desk. Like, I
Maybe.
don't know if we even get a scene like putting it in a box. You don't just put a recording in a box just to have it in the box. Like, cuz we would just assume that the recording is just part of the ship, right? Like it's part of
Yep.
the memory system of
Yep.
the ship. So for them to take it out and put it in the box, like they're gonna give that box away. I don't know if it'll be wrapped up, but it'll be Christmas time for Luke.
Yeah. So these first two scenes, though, I thought were great. I appreciated this is how they pass the time in transitioning and still getting to the next galaxy. This felt like it wasn't a filler scene. It actually had weight to it of emotion and something happening. Unfortunately, we get a lot, I think you're right, in this episode of filler, of things that probably. Now, let's say if this episode was an hour long instead of 37 minutes long, I think we would both have very different opinions because you can do so much more. But with what they did
Yeah.
in the 37 minutes and where they end, it ends up being not enough. And then, of course, we get right from the training and we hop into space whales and landmines. What did you think
Yeah.
about the trap set by Thrawn for the space whales?
Makes sense. I like the way that it was done. Just going back a little bit on your point about like, oh, it was a good way to show the passing of time. I wish that scene was the scene that we saw in the beginning of last episode.
Mm,
Like while they were like talking about the stories. That's where the editing stuff could really come into play of like how just to orchestrate a real life show versus a cartoon is
mm.
just to be like, okay, we want to have a scene where there's the passing of time. let's put this scene in there because it's a good scene. Now, with the whales blowing up and everything, I thought it was pretty baller. Although, like, I know everyone's saying it's Thrawn's plan, but didn't he just kind of just say, Morgan, like, make sure, like, if there are whales, like, didn't he give it to Morgan Elsbeth,
And he
like that
said,
it was
blast them
her
out of the air. Yeah.
responsibility? So I don't really view it as like, oh, Thrawn's so strategic with his landmines. It's just Morgan was like, let's do it this way.
And that's for sure possible. Uh, there isn't very much clarity there. Justin says, "I want to see more. I want to see Thrawn fleeing the rumors of the Yuzan Vong in that other galaxy." Yeah, unfortunately, Justin, I think we don't have enough time for any of that. I don't think there's enough time for any of the cool theories to happen, which is
Yeah.
kind of frustrating because I think some of the theories that YouTubers and other folks have come up with would be really interesting. Some of my theories I come up with, I just come up with to come up with more than I think it would actually work. But
Dude, if you followed all you guys with your theories, you guys would make such a killer show compared to what we're getting.
I
Like,
know.
you guys came up with like the coolest stuff, and it was like, oh, that could be. But now I'm realizing we're not getting any of that stuff. So it's just like you got to deal with the show as it is, and it's like,
The
but what
expectation.
he's saying, I would love to see that. Just even a couple lines. We don't need a whole lot. You
Yeah.
could do it of
Yeah.
just being like, like maybe, oh, they're arriving or something, like this threat of the
Yeah.
Vong, like they're arriving, and it's like, well, it's too late, and then they go, like, even something like that, just to let them know that was the threat. But I just, the way this show has worked, I don't think we're gonna get it. It'd be way cool though.
Yeah, well, back to the minefield. I think it was very interesting because we've never seen in live action any kind of imperial minefield. And so just the idea of that strategy, the fact that they could pinpoint and figure out right where they were going to exit the start the hyperspace lane and all that stuff. I think that's really interesting. It obviously didn't work, and that was my only thing was it even in this scene, let's be honest, did you ever feel like our characters were in danger?
Not once.
Not once.
And I have
That
no feeling for those whales. I know that's what they're trying to make. They're trying to make me sympathize for these star whales. I'm not going to do it. Star whales suck.
tell me more, Dean.
They're the worst. You really want to know? No, it's. I just really don't like them. I think it's so dumb, and they just keep on every time. It's like Hera. I'm like, okay, well, like Hera's out of the picture now, and whatever. It's the same thing with the star whales. I'm like, okay, so they'll just like open their mouth and they'll go, but it's just nope. Dave Filoni wants more time with the star whales. We gotta show the Purgle doing something.
Dean, you better watch out. You might have PETA coming down on you. It looks like Brandon is
Come at me, bro.
Brandon's reaching out to PETA right now. They're on the phone. And
Hey, Brandon.
well, so I didn't feel anything in that sequence in
Yeah.
this whole thing. I wasn't worried. I wasn't concerned. I did like how they jumped into the graveyard. It felt very. There was a callback. Let's be honest, a callback to
Yeah, they
Empire
just
Strike
repeated the line
Backs.
from Empire.
Yep, and I'm okay when they do that, and it still was part of what they had to do. Don't do it all the time. My
Yeah.
problem is, why not both? Why not as soon as these mines are going off? Why aren't you turbo lasering? Like, why aren't you firing all the cannons? Why isn't it crazy? And I want to see some star whales blow up. We didn't see one blow up. That I think was frustrating because I think we saw them then just bounce off to hyperspace, and you should have made them pop out and see whales exploding, not just these kind of mines. I thought it was okay, but it doesn't give us the sense of, oh no, someone's in danger. Someone could actually die. The
Yeah.
whole episode, did you feel that about anyone?
No, I don't think
No?
so. I never felt like anyone was really all that threatened, except for maybe the mercenaries. They looked
Yeah.
really cool, and then they just got killed immediately by turtle people.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like the whole thing, like it could have been done a lot better. I like the idea of like there being like this graveyard around the planet with the bones and everything. That's super cool. Really dark, but super cool. uh but like it's this show. It just keeps on like hurrying up to wait.
just
Like it's
hide.
like all right, they're in the
Yeah,
whale and they're waiting forever. And then they hurry up to go land somewhere and wait. And then they get to the ground only to wait. Like it's just like this like stop and go pace of like not actually doing a lot. Like they didn't fight back. They don't take down any of the ships that were following them. Like they
they
just
take
go
zero
and hide
damage.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
they
zero damage apparently. Like I don't know how that happens, but whatever. But it's like that's the whole thing with this show. It's just hurry up to wait.
yeah, and I think that this, if you're just joining the stream and you've not been on the channel before, Dean and I try to just tell it how it is. That doesn't mean we are hating on Star Wars because we might not have liked parts of a show. Everyone's open to your own opinion. If you loved it, you loved it. Great. Awesome. I'm glad and happy for you. I think that when it's things like this, let's be nitpicky. Why? Because we're going to have to wait 2 years to the next thing on
Yeah.
screen. Like I'm we have 40 minutes of runtime left for this show, and then we've got a dead zone of nothingness. And so I think that being picky about this, and Justin says, I think this is right on. This show needed to be dirty, dangerous, but instead it's hippie dirty. And
Take a bath, Ahsoka.
well, I think it's also a reference to the way that Ezra looks. And there's a crazy theory floating around the internet about Ezra, and I can't wait to get Dean's opinion on it
What? I
because
don't know. I haven't read anything.
it's gonna make you mad. It's
Oh, is it?
because
Oh no.
that's a tease for later. We'll get there. I don't think it's true. I'll just say that at the front, but we'll chat about it. Then this next scene I loved. I'm a Thrawn fan. I've been saying I'm a Thrawn fan, and I think this next scene was done really well.
What do you
This
guys
is
call yourselves? Are you like Thrawnies?
Thrawnies. No, I just enjoy Thrawn. Yeah. I you have to. I wish I could show it. His name, Dean's name in Ecam when he came in is Grand Admiral Yawn right now. I know he did that just to mess with me, but I enjoyed this scene. I think that there's some things about Thrawn in this episode that were done great. There's some things in this episode I thought were done really poorly when it comes to Thrawn. This was great. I think him learning and just the way that Mickelson learns about Ahsoka's master and it being General Anakin Skywalker, as he says, and you can even see here as he's reading it, he all of a sudden takes a completely different tone and action with Ahsoka. You can see him there turning right there, kind of being a little bit surprised. And now, what does he do? He pulls back and he's like, you know what? What do they end up doing? He ends up using the Night Sister magic or the Night Mother magic to figure out where Ahsoka is to draw her out. He's like, I'm not messing around with anyone associated with Anakin because
Yeah.
he was the first one to figure out, Thrawn was, in the novels at least, the first one to figure out that Anakin was Vader or that Vader was Anakin. And so
Yeah.
he knows the depth of all of this. What did you think about this scene?
One, I got to talk about that hologram, man. Like this show is really taking a step forward with like the hologram technology. Like all the holograms look so much cooler in this show. They did it with Balin early on
Yep.
when he showed up in hologram. And it's just like, oh, this is like the ripple effect and everything.
Yeah, even
That
this right
looks
here.
so
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, uh, I love that Thrawn knows that Anakin is Darth Vader, and you can see it. There's fear. There's genuine fear of like what he talks about how Anakin was unpredictable,
Yep.
and like that makes sense for Thrawn as a character, fearing like someone just being completely unpredictable that you can't figure out exactly what their next move is going to be. I thought that was really cool. Now, I will say like last episode we ended with I'm going to need your dark magic once again. And it was so ominous, made you go like, "Ooh, what is this? What is this big thing?" And I'm sure everyone speculated. And then just to be like, "Where is she on this map?" Like that's that's the big deal with like the organ music behind it. Like this, that's what you really needed. Is like, can you give me directions? Mm. I don't know. Maybe it was something else, and we just don't know what that is yet. But if that's what that was, what a letdown.
Yeah, well, and I was hoping they were going to start the episode with something more dark. Again, I don't mind that they started where they did, but I wish think if instead, right, the night mother or the mothers are working on something in the background that we don't know about. Like just you see them. Like this is where visual cues, you can tell so much story with visuals. You don't necessarily always need exposition. And so
Yeah,
if they had been with their little triangle of red lasers hanging out in the back and doing something, then you have that thread of connection to that previous statement, and
yeah,
you could even then make that crazier by him interrupting them and saying, I need you to work on something else for a second
yeah,
in the Thrawn version. So I think that there's, yeah, I think you're right. This has the classic where they wrote a really good line in the last episode, but it wasn't actually connected to anything happening in this episode. And
yeah.
so
And maybe it'll connect in the finale.
possibly,
Like,
possibly.
but it kind of seems like it was just kidding giving directions. Also with Thrawn, I want to know how you think about this because I know, like, obviously you love Thrawn and you love how like just intelligent he is. I'm getting a little afraid that the only intelligence that we're going to see him or like kind of like being a step ahead of everybody is to just like let things play out. Like he's just like oh, like we need to be ahead of her, so fall back a little bit and see what happens. And he does the same thing with Ezra in the end, like, oh, like let we need to be a step ahead of them, so fall back. It's just like I want to see like real strategy here, and I'm not really getting that vibe. I'm getting that he's super intelligent, but it just seems like the show is just kind of showing it through he's willing to let things like play out and be patient about it. It's like, okay, but like that's we only have so much time. I really want to see
Mm.
him be like crazy strategic to think like he's this huge threat and the galaxy is, in danger.
Well, yeah, and here's my one of the things I wrote down on my, I don't even know where I wrote it, but one of the things that frustrates me, and it'll get we'll get to this also when we talk about how he goes after Ezra. Thrawn in the books, in the novels, the original novels by Timothy Zahn, is, like I've said before on this channel and as we've talked about it, he's decided to figure out ways to take entire planets without losing a single soldier. That's how far he would go to ensure no loss of life, no casualty on his side. He
Yeah.
is he's not like lovey-dovey like, "Oh, I don't want any of my men to die." And I'm not saying that, but he's like, "No.
Resources.
Yeah, we could do this the most efficient way possible." And so a lot of his decision making is about efficiency. And so that does mean letting people die when it becomes no longer efficient. And that's ruthless, but it's also tactical. So in this scenario, I think they could have chosen some different ways to go about it. I think the minefield, let's assume for a moment that Thrawn's behind the minefield. I think the minefield is a great way not only to alert you when the whales show up, but also
Yeah.
that they're there. So that's kind of like an alarm bells ringing. And it does seem like Enoch is the one who's in charge of all the other like stuff, like getting the ships out and getting the ground troops ready, and Thrawn's just barking those orders. So I think that observation of them pulling back is a really good observation, and that's not the best way, I think, to show Thrawn. I'm hoping that there's still some other things and tricks up his sleeve, because usually what Thrawn will do is he will get you looking one way to be able to do something else over here, so that
Sure.
thing is the thing that you missed out on. And that happens so many times where he'll give you, like, there was one time where he even gives himself up, and he writes this is so baller. He writes down the instructions line by line to his admiral to say, do this, then they're going to do this, then you're going to do this, then they're going to do that. Like, he tells them the battle before it happens. He lets himself get captured, and then this whole thing happens while he's on the deck of the captured ship looking face to face at the general. He already knew what he was going to do every single move. Like, that is the Thrawn that is like, what? Like, that's incredible. And then it showed his Pelion, his officer, also understanding how Thrawn thinks and being able to adjust. And there was a moment where he had to adjust his thinking. So not only did Thrawn have all of this in the bank, how to figure out step by step, he also trained others to think like him. And so all that to say, no, I was not super satisfied with the way that he was presented in this episode. I felt it was a little, oh, well, whatever, we lost those, but we really won the day. I'm like, no, did you though? Did you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not saying any of the decisions he makes are wrong decisions. It's just a weird way for a show to be like, this guy is like the biggest threat out there, to just be like, he lets things play out. Like let's see like him actually acting and putting things in motion for there to be victory.
I will say we do get the foresight, and we'll get there in a moment, when he would say the reason he let Sabine go out was that she wouldn't be near them anymore. So if there was anything, now he didn't know about Ahsoka necessarily at that point, once he had honored that agreement to let Ahsoka go, but it also, there was no harm in it. So I think he did some of those things. Brandon had a good question, and this is interesting to think about. Any chance these witches are connected to Palpatine coming back? I don't like to think about Palpatine coming back. If we're being honest,
we don't know how, but he's back
somehow. I think they could retcon and bring more into that. It might be more about how he gets the ships and Exegol and all of that than Palpatine, because I think everything shown in the movies is that he's cloned, and that's kind of how we come about it. But maybe they could make it more interesting. I'm sure they could. Well, I always
saw like Palpatine being antagonistic toward the Dathomir witches, right? Like, he saw them as a threat. He doesn't use them, does he?
No, he would only try to use them if he thinks he could control them, and they weren't controllable in that sense. And
like, I mean, obviously there's Maul, but like, that's different.
That's different. Justin says, I believe, I'll put it over here, it's easier to read. I believe the witches will control the Force, and Sabine's lack of Force ability will play a role. Thrawn knows this. That's possible. I think it's possible. I think there also will be, it is interesting to see them use the Force. That's what I really actually enjoyed about parts of this episode, even though, it wasn't this super dark ability, but just to get to, what can they actually do? Oh, okay, they can do things like they can turn on the GPS locator and use Find My Phone, and they can find. So they're basically an iPhone 15. Well, then we transition to the next scene, and we have what frustrates me the most, Prince Caspian, about this episode. This interaction needed to be, in my opinion, more urgent. There is no urgency in this scene. Her feet are
they're
up.
Literally taking a cruise in their RV.
They're chilling on these pod things, which I think are actually pretty cool. They can hide
They
in
are,
them.
and I was not expecting them to be vehicles.
No.
Like, they did not look that way to me, but it makes sense.
The jank antennas up on the roof there, and but this just
We got channel 13, babe.
move it around. It's fuzzy. Yeah. The line again. We just were talking about the Emperor. The line in this when she talks about the Emperor died, and Ezra comes back. The Emperor died, and she just goes, "That's what people say." Ooh, like.
Although, come on, like that does make sense. If
it
you
is.
weren't there and like you just get told that the Emperor was there and that he got blown up, there would be so many conspiracies going through the galaxy of like, oh yeah, we saw him at that diner. You know, like it'd be like Elvis.
Yeah, they're I think they're doing their best to try to patch the holes. And I appreciate that. I will say there was one moment in this conversation that I thought was done really well, and it's the moment where Sabine tells Ezra that Ahsoka was training her. And his reaction, we're not gonna play the audio. Yeah. I think his reaction was all of our reactions. All of our reactions when Sabine was getting trained. And then he right here. And then he tries to catch him. He's like, oh, I mean, yes.
I don't want to be a jerky friend here, but
well, and even in this episode and in the spots we get, I have actually really enjoyed Ezra. What about you?
I don't know. It's like I'm conflicted because I get where Filoni was going with this character. Like having watched Rebels, like he's a goofball.
Mm-hmm.
Like he is. He's a joking kind of character, stealing stormtroopers' helmets. Just a weird kid, you know. But I would have thought that he would have grown up a little bit. I would have thought that, like, even when we get into like the fighting sequences and stuff, so disappointing because in my head, I'm just like, okay, he's alone. He's like, yeah, he's got his turtle people, I guess, his turtle fam. He's part of the turtle club, but like, I just thought he would be like training, and I thought that he would be more serious, and I thought he would be more heroic. And we're just not getting that. Actually, there's like if any of the sci-fi nerds here watch Foundation, there's a character in this latest season or in the book that I'm forgetting his name, Hober Mallow, who he's reminding me of that character where he's just like he's supposed to be like this epic thing and people know about his legend, but then he's just kind of a screw up and like kind of just like a really laid back character, kind of Aladdin kind of type. And I just didn't think that's where we were going with him. I thought we were going to go epic, and like I was expecting Sage Ezra, and he is just not that at all. And I guess it's kind of similar to my feelings about Luke in Last Jedi. Like that, you know, we thought he was going to be like this epic character, and he just wasn't. Now, again, we can argue about like whether that means like they even got the character right. I think this time, like they did get aspects of the character right. They're just focusing more on that aspect of him being like kind of juvenile than I thought they would.
Well, I think for a few things, yes, I agree. I think that they could have, you can do both. You can make him goofy and juvenile, and then when the bullets start flying, he could flip a switch, right?
Yeah.
I think that could have been, because I don't mind this scene as much as I mind the other scenes. This is him. Again, I will say this. There is no sense of urgency, and he is not pressing Sabine on any of it's complicated. I mean, they're taking their sweet time to go where exactly? They're
Yeah.
just
What is Sabine's plan here? Like, she
none.
knows that ship is leaving. Like, she doesn't know about the cargo. She had zero idea about the cargo.
She
Like,
doesn't
she wasn't in
know.
those conversations. So why is
Yeah.
she just like, yeah, let's go for a ride?
It, instead of her saying like here it is, and I get Sabine is avoiding the conflict, Sabine is avoiding all these things. Why isn't Ezra pushing that? Why
Yeah.
isn't Ezra saying, hold on a second, how did you get here? How are we leaving? You're saying Ahsoka might be, or it's complicated. You're saying those, everything is complicated. And at the very least, when he sees Shin here in a moment, and when he sees Shin on the hill, Shin and Balin off in the distance, wouldn't that be the thing that would at least snap him into, what haven't you told me,
Yeah,
Sabine?
you got to tell me. I get like this is difficult for you, but you have to tell me what's going on. Nope,
And
we don't get it.
and
It's
we
just
don't
who are
get
your
it.
friends?
So here's my main problem with the episode. If they had done that this episode, I think this episode goes a lot better, because now they have to do that with Ahsoka and all of them in the next episode. The realization of the problem has to come to, like, it's not attention for us, the audience. And it's not something that's like this big cliffhanger of how's he gonna find out? Like, we don't care. It just needed to happen, and it didn't. And then you get this scene where they look off in the distance and they see, I love, first of all, that they partnered with the nomads. I thought that was pretty baller, that they actually struck up some kind of deal, or Jedi mind tricked them into partnering. But when they see off in the distance, and again still know what's going on, why are we doing this? That's a
Yeah.
problem, and that he keeps mentioning he wants to go home, but he doesn't act like he wants to go home. That's my problem.
That's the thing, man. All these characters have stated motivations. Like Balin has a stated motivation that he wants to remake or like end the cycle and
Sure.
create new life. Like Thrawn has a stated goal of getting back. He wants to get back, and you've put your galaxy at risk. He wants to get back there. He wants to rule. Like everyone has a stated goal, but it seems like no one is actually moving toward that goal.
Mm.
Everyone is just so laid back about that, even when that goal is like life and death. They're just kind of like, well, it'll happen or it won't.
It's a good observation. I agree. And then next scene we hop into is Night Sisters or Night Mothers. I always get it mixed up.
Well,
They're
they call them all
using
kinds, like the Night Sisters, Red
the
Mothers, all that.
witches. Yeah, it's hard to know. They use their GPS finding powers to locate Sabine. Again, I didn't have a problem with this scene, but once you pointed out again their dark magic ominousness, yeah, this doesn't feel very ominous.
It's not good enough payoff. Like
Yeah.
you just said, like, I need your dark assistance once again. I will say, like all this is cool. Like them having like a focused object
Yes.
like a lightsaber, but for them it's sorcery, so it's through like these balls. Like that's interesting. I want to dive deeper into that. Even like I was asking my son what his favorite part of this episode was. And he says the Red Mothers. He's so interested in like who are these people? What are they about? And nope, we just like don't get any of that from
No.
those
Yeah.
conversations. We just get, yep, she's probably like right here. She's like sitting on this jawbone over here. That's not cool.
Well, so the thing that I actually liked most about this one scene, as I was messing with the settings and it not going the way I
No
wanted
worries.
to, was Morgan Elsbeth. Did you catch Morgan Elsbeth in this scene? Watch this again.
Maybe, I don't know.
So they pull this out. They're starting to do their sorcery. Deep whirring is happening. I put on the closed
Ooh.
captions because I want to see if they put anything down. She is no. So if I put on the audio, I want to do the audio real quick because it's interesting that whatever Morgan is doing is not audibly visible. Listen.
I'm in need of your assistance. We are at your service, my lord.
Ahsoka Tano lies hidden within the graveyards. Find her.
Yes, Grand Admiral.
It kicks up, and all this is going to happen, but now there's no more words. But watch Morgan Elsbeth.
Yeah, she's repeating some spell.
Yeah, and I just it heightens this depth of, man, this is just weird, and I want to know more, right? I want to know more about it. Like, it's almost a religious moment where she's praying as she's casting some spell as they're doing this thing to help them, and or I love this type of stuff because that one little shot of her just, I think, ties this together really interestingly. Even if we don't get any info about it, I think those types of things are really cool. I think the night mothers, the witches, Balin, the stuff we don't know about has been pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate that we're not going to know much about it.
That's the thing, man. We're not getting any payoff. Like that's kind of just, I don't know. It just keeps on happening with even like big budget movies and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah,
even the MCU is having this problem right now where it's just a lot of cool visuals and you're like, oh, where's this going to go? And then it just doesn't go anywhere. Like, it's just like, oh, it's just to look cool. And it's like I'm sure that there are going to be books and comic books and,
sure.
different stuff over years that they'll go into. Like, this is all creating stuff for IP, like this is just, you can take it and make a book series out of that. You could take that and make a comic book series out of that one, video game over here, like there's
Sure.
all kinds of stuff that you could do with it. But you're introducing this in a show and you're literally giving us nothing about like, what are the Red Mothers doing? We still have no idea why they're working with Thrawn at all, other than getting back, but like into the other galaxy. But why do they want to go? And
We don't know.
like,
Yeah.
what even, like, is this the Force or is that technology? I'm assuming it's the Force, but like, we don't even know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't have much. I will say I like how they mirrored the dark magic use of the Red Mothers here with what Sabine and Ahsoka did, where Ahsoka was trying to find and locate Sabine. So they're both trying to locate. So I appreciate that they lined that up. I also appreciate that when they did that, Sabine had no clue what just happened. Like, she's like, I don't know, I felt something familiar. And Ahsoka's like, oh, I know right where she is. Like, it again, they're at least continuing to keep Sabine Force inadequate. And I appreciate that. I will say, I think they've gone too far in this whole series of how underpowered some of the heroes are.
Like Ezra.
Like, yeah, we're gonna get there. We're almost there. They find the Jedi, all that happens, and then again, the most interesting character in this entire show, Balin. The scene between Balin and Shin, I just want to watch it because I think it's slow, but I'm glad they made this slow because this moment, I think, where Shin and Balin have this conversation, and I'm going to give you a theory here after we chat about this that I'm a little worried about. And okay. I'm nervous. We'll talk about it after, but let's watch this again because I think this interaction, particularly watching Shin, is really intriguing, knowing where the episode goes now. But I've watched this a few times, and I think that as we do this, Shin is far more hurt by this than I think we first.
For sure. Look at her face there. That is betrayal.
Right, she is.
Bridger, then take your place in the coming empire.
Look at her.
You won't help?
Look at her.
Your ambition drives you in one direction. My path lies in another.
And I'm fine with them letting that hang, right? There's moments where I think
Yeah.
letting it hang is okay. And she reluctantly, she doesn't even want to anymore. It feels like she's like given up. Justin, it's so sad. And we're going to talk about that because I think there's something coming in this next episode that's frustrating. But she calls it in, they split, and then
I've located
they
Ezra
just ride
Bridger.
off.
Sending his
It
coordinates
felt
now.
I didn't see this coming.
One parting lesson, Shin. Impatience for victory will guarantee defeat.
And that right there was the best
Great
line.
line.
Whole episode, best line right there.
Yeah, it might be my favorite line in all of this so far.
You could make that case. I can't think of another that I would rival it right at this moment. Where do you think this is going? Where do you think Shin ends up? Where do you think Balin ends up?
Well, Shin's on her way to the ship. Like she's
Is
going to
she?
try to get there.
Or is she going to go try to
the
find Balin?
Crimea or whatever. Yeah.
Balin's on foot now.
Yeah.
So I think there's two possibilities. She could go try to find Balin, or she's going back to the ship.
I think for sure she's going back to the ship. I don't see her going after Balin. It's pretty disappointing. You know, like again, you were talking about like all like the theories and everything. I think fans came up with way more interesting plots for this show than what we're actually getting. Like, you know, like I think everyone saw some kind of a betrayal happening between these two. But just to have it be so boring is kind of disappointing. That being said, I'm okay with it. Like, this isn't that big a deal to me. Like, I'm fine with him just being like, you know, I got to do this. I got to follow this through. You know, you go and, you know, live your best life, you know, like, even though it kind of seems like he's bent on like changing everybody's lives. So I don't know if that's like, you know, live while you can, you know, like kind of deal. But, yeah, it is disappointing in the way that it happened, that we don't get like some like, you know, big, like she shows betrayal on her face, but it's more of just like hurt. And it feels very personal, more than just a master, which I don't know. I'm getting vibes of like Goodbye Daughter from it, but
yeah,
I'm okay with that because it does show like, again, that Balin is a different kind of villain. Like he's compassionate, and they're like you can see it from Shin. Like there's admiration. Usually, you know, when we have villains in Star Wars, it's just fear. Like it's just like, this person is more powerful than me, so I can't do anything about it. But I don't feel that from that, so I'm okay with it.
So I was going to save it for later, but we're going to get into this now because I think it's the right time. What if, and if they do this, I think I will be I will be really mad. What if we don't see Balin in the next episode? What if he rides off? What if he rides off and he's just done? And that storyline is just gone. And they never were intending to go anywhere with it. It's possible, though.
If that happens, I think the Star Wars fans, whether you liked some aspects of this show or not, it's time to riot. Like, it really is. It's time to like be like, what the heck, Star Wars? You give us like something really cool, like an idea that's super cool, and then you don't pay it off, and now we never get to see that because Ray Stevenson is gone.
Well, what if though the original writing thought here's why I think it's possible, because it makes no sense. You're like, why would they even do that? It makes no sense to have him just go off unless you were always intending picking that storyline up again later with Ray Stevenson. And I think it's possible that the original thought could have been something along the lines of, this next episode, we have to follow Shin and Thrawn and all of that. And Balin has already decided to remain on Peridia. and we will go back to Balin at some point, but this next episode cliffhanger will not involve him. And then Ray Stevenson died after all of that. And now they're probably wondering, was this going to be him showing up in other shows, in other ways, in other things, and following that? I don't know. Because I'm just looking at 40 minutes of runtime, and if he's going to go find, like, we have all these theories of what he's going to go find, how do we have time? How do we have time in a slowly paced show for Balin to investigate anything and us get any kind of answer and us come to some kind of cliffhanger ending of how this is going to end? That's my
You
worry.
just bum me out so much,
This
man.
is my worry.
Because that's what's going to happen.
I'm so
It's
worried.
always more boring than we think, and it's always like the most easy answer. It's never as complex as we want. And so, yeah, that's exactly how it's going to end. Like maybe we do see him again, but he's like entering like some light, like he's gonna like walk through some kind of a light door, like we'll see him like enter into like some rocks where light is shining through or something, and then that's it.
Dave,
Filoni, that's so disappointing.
You're watching right now. Please edit the episode before it goes live if that's what's going to happen. I really hope not. And when I was thinking through this, it was depressing to think about, because Balin has been, I mean, just look at him. He has been just the best part. Some of his stuff, this episode even, and the whole series or season, he has been the best part of. He's had some of the best lines, some of the best dialogue, his gravitas, his presence, all of it. I think it's also
one of the best lightsaber duels we've seen in like years and years.
Yep. And his unwavering just pursuit of what he's going for. And even as Justin said here, he gives a true master lesson, not just live or die, kind of like what we got from Anakin. And Ahsoka, he gives something for her to really latch onto. And my worry and my fear is this was the last substantial scene we get of Balin.
Dang it, that sounds so right. Like even just the looks that like they showed him a couple times, and it was like really focused on his face. And it kind of did feel like a goodbye now that you bring it up.
And especially we'll see it here in a minute when we get done with the fight between him and Ahsoka, and he just like, okay, I'm gonna walk away. I'm walking off, and he just starts walking. He doesn't have anything to ride. He doesn't have anything to. That's why I'm hoping. I'm hoping Shin is going to get him, but I think you're right. I think she's going to the ship, because if she's going to him, that means we see him again. But.
I just don't see it. Like with what he said, he closed the door.
Yep.
And that's why you could see the pain in her face. She knew like that's it. We're done. And so I think she is scared. Like, she was like basically like Ahsoka gave her appeal. And I'm so glad that Shin didn't take her up on it. I was going to be like, for real? Like, we're just going to get like this reluctant helper. That's what Shin is. Like, no. Shin is way cooler than that. So I love that she was just like, she knows she's outmatched, but she takes off for the ship. Like she's gonna make it. She's gonna get over there and be whatever she has to be for Thrawn to like give her power. And I like that.
Well, and then we hop into this next scene, and I think this was the worst scene of the episode. And I think it dragged. I think it took too long. This whole following these ships that we don't know where they're going. Why were they even leaving the lake? Why didn't they just stay there? We don't know. We have no idea. And I don't want the audio, but they get these. I mean, they try to do comedy here, and it wasn't funny to me. I don't know. Did you find it funny? They throw a pan, and he tries the slingshot, and I mean,
there was one thud that they like it's off screen,
Okay.
Like they just have like a big loud thud, like that one right there. I did giggle
Uh,
at that one. It got me. But yeah, it's just like really long, drawn out race to nowhere.
mhm.
They're not going anywhere. So like why are we showing them trying to like outrun them? We know they're like these are turtle people. These are turtle people with their RVs. Like how are they going to outrun them?
And
And we
why?
like it's trying that.
Yeah. And then what do they end up doing? They end up circling up and turtling up around the guy anyway.
Whoopa whoopa.
Whoopa whoopa. I would have had more respect for this if they had just done that from the launch. They had just done this from the beginning. Okay, we can't outrun them. Here they come. Positions. We've practiced
Yeah.
this. This is our battle. We know what to do now. Like then you'd be like, oh, do they have any traps? Do they have any tricks up their sleeve? I think you could have done some interesting things with something like that where, oh, they've got trap doors. They've got these different things. They're going to pop out and trip someone at the knees and hop back in, kind of like guerrilla warfare in their little encampment shell. That could have been interesting, and it wouldn't have been. But again, they wanted it to feel like action, and continually this action feels chaotic and clunky, not like actually. Did they didn't? There's. Are you worried that one of these turtle guys was going to die? No. Again, they never make it feel like what's wrong? You showed a bone graveyard. You can't show a turtle getting killed. Like I'm not saying you have to be gruesome about it, but I feel
I
no
mean, if we could
fear.
see Eagles dying, I think we could see one of these turtle people dying.
Yep. Or at least getting injured, getting hurt, not just turtled up, right? Getting knocked out, the thing flipping instead of just slowly coming to a stop.
Yeah.
Again, that that was like a 3-minute sequence. Excuse me.
Mhm.
That was like a 3-minute sequence. Yeah. From 2504 all the way to 27, and it's still going. And now they
Yeah.
have Ahsoka fly out of the ship, which I kind of liked. She ends up with
It
Balin,
was pretty cool to see like the slide and everything.
like the reverse Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon
Yeah.
jumps into the ship, she's sliding out of the ship. I
Oh
saw
man, that
someone
blew my
mention that.
mind as a kid. I thought
Yeah.
that was like the coolest move ever.
And then we come to this. Now, compare this fight scene to the first fight we got between them. Which one is better?
Well, I think we know which one is better. For me, like this scene is about like just character.
Yep.
And like they both like they're going through the motions. And like I feel like they like even could have like just talked about it and then moved on. Like I don't think we even needed this. But like cuz they both like are just like look, like we both have other places we want to be right now. This is the reluctant duel.
Yep.
But yeah, it's fine, I guess. At least didn't last like it didn't last as long as them getting chased by the wolves. Like it wasn't like a
Mhm.
3-minute like go at it, for just to have another lightsaber duel. So I appreciate that restraint, but it was not nearly as epic. And honestly, it wasn't even shot well. Like they're like when they both have each other,
Yeah.
like it's not clearly shown. Like I had to go back and I was like, why didn't Ahsoka just kill him? I could like the framing of the shot, like you can't even really see Balin's lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
it's just
Right here.
like you got to really be paying attention to know like, oh, it's a stalemate. Like I was like, why didn't she just like go for the throat? And I had to rewatch it.
Yeah, and I think that the line that he says of you can't defeat me,
Mhm.
that frustrated me. Ahsoka is one of the best duelers in the galaxy. And
Yeah.
I think that I don't have a problem that Balin is a formidable opponent. He overpowered her last time with his brute
Yeah.
just anger. And I would have liked to have seen her use her wit, her thinking on her feet, her ingenuity, and her agility to her advantage. I'm fine with the way that she got away. I don't have a problem with that. But this felt like a very brief battle. Imagine if we had gotten a longer duel instead of a pod race chase, whatever it was.
Now this is pod racing.
Those are pods. That's pod racing. Turtle. Imagine we get a scene. Yeah. Now the Boonta Eve Classic 2.0. But I think that we could have gotten a longer duel and more dialogue, and even maybe him trying to get under her skin and she not giving into it. Like, I think you could have done more with this than it just be, oh, we're in each other's way, we have to go.
Yeah. Like I could see why someone would say like, well, this is about growth for Ahsoka, that she, is like
That's fair.
all about like her love for Sabine and getting over that, rather than, I have to defeat my enemies. But at the same time, like, I just look at it and go, last time she got her butt kicked and she's the star of the show, she should win. It shouldn't be a stalemate.
Cut his hand
Like,
off.
or at least she should be able to like defeat him and run,
Yeah.
like get him into a position where he actually does lose.
Yeah.
Not saying like, you can't defeat me. Like, that's like, you just weakened your main character by a ton. No, sure, Balin is great. And so like a lot of us would just look at that and go, of course Balin's better. But it's the Ahsoka show, not the Balin show.
Yeah.
Like, she should have had like, this redemption moment of being able to take Balin, at least in some way, to create enough space where she can hop on that thing and go right off,
Yeah, well, I think that they played it safe. It was a safe scene. It was a safe, easy. But why this scene?
You didn't even have to have it.
No. She didn't need to jump out there. She didn't need to land there. And you're right. I think even if she lands there, they can both look at each other and both come to this conclusion of, we don't need to fight.
Yeah, we got bigger fish to fry right now.
And they just run in opposite directions.
Yeah.
But, I mean, her calculations were pretty off if she needed to steal his horse to get, or his wolf to get closer to where Sabine and Ezra actually are. But, yeah, if the duel had been better, I might have been fine. But then it was clunky on top of all that. And then I do want to rewind, because in between all of that, we had the moment where this battle starts and you have Ezra not wanting to take his lightsaber. What did you think about this?
Hated it.
Yep.
Hated it.
Yep.
We all know that
tell me
Ezra
why,
is
Dean.
a tech nerd. He's a tech nerd. He built that lightsaber. Or he's the kid that built a blaster into his lightsaber. He freaking loves this stuff. And for him not to even look at his lightsaber, he didn't even look at it. He's just like, no, I don't want it.
Okay.
He's just like, what?
He is
the lightsaber that you used and trained under your master. You don't even like, I guess he does kind of look at it.
Just
but
a little bit.
He doesn't like stop and get like affected by it.
No.
Like, what? That's your lightsaber, bud. Like, you don't like, I get it. For a moment, I thought we were going to go like really cool with it. Like, I was expecting like, okay, you don't want your lightsaber? What kind of skills have you been working on, man? Like, I'm ready to see some cool martial arts, force wielding stuff.
Flips,
like almost
and,
like Donnie Yen.
Yep.
Like in Rogue One. Like, I was expecting something kind of like that. And nope. We got a couple pushes. It's like, oh, get away from me. Oh, get away from me. Like, and then he picks up a blaster. Like, you got a Mandalorian next to you who is like, she's got her blasters. She's very capable with those blasters. You got nothing. And you're just like, the Force is my only ally. Cool. And then you just do little pushes like it's flag football or something. Like, come on. Like, I was expecting like something amazing, something I haven't seen before. Like him being able to just like, I don't know, just like take out everybody. I thought we were going to get like that Sage Ezra I've been training for this kind of moment where all like the goofiness kind of fades away and he just shows how boss he is. And nope, we don't get that. We get Aladdin. He's Aladdin. He's a street rat who just like kind of like gets out of problems and goes like, don't you want to take us prisoner? Instead of like going after people. This is so disappointing.
Confidence is your weakness.
His overconfidence is his weakness. Here, I agree 100%. Why can't Disney let legendary characters get their lightsabers back?
Yes,
this could have been, hey Dave, you could have rectified this, and you have not made him the curmudgeon, you have not made him the hermit, but if you're going to go the way the Force is my ally and you're going to go Kung Fu Force, I'm fine with it. But I wanted to see like him go. He was Avatar Aang light with air bending and just pushing people away. And I wanted to see like him full Avatar. Like I want his eyes to be glowing. Like I wanted him to be so filled with the Force that there was like an aura. Like something palpably different shifts in him. And this is earlier in the episode. I said, I'm fine with Goofy Ezra, but I wanted to see him pick up these pods and fling them in a crate, like do something incredible and wow us and then make us go, oh, I'm not saying he has to be overpowered, but if you're going to go Force is my ally, don't pick up a blaster, and he's got to be doing more than force pushing. He's got to be flipping. He's got to be doing something.
He's got to be grabbing people with the Force and knocking them and like using that force push with that to like compel himself forward. He's got to be doing cool stuff. I was like, I don't know why, but RRR is just on my mind. And I was expecting some moves like in RRR. Where it's just like it's like comic book ish, but it's not supposed to be. It's like everything is exaggerated. I was expecting moves like that from him with the Force, and we just didn't get it. We didn't get anything like that. He is a total letdown because he is not advanced in any way, it seems, in the Force at all while he's been gone for a decade.
No wonder Thrawn doesn't
on
care
his own
where he
for a
is.
decade with turtle people.
Yeah.
Like you think like this would be like you would have to hone your skills, and just even to survive mentally, you would have to just like, really be in tune with the Force. And when he said that, I was so excited. And then to see him just kind of be like, like, just trying to like avoid people. It's just what is going on? Also, these stormtroopers. Let's talk about that, man. What a letdown. They're just stormtroopers?
I'm holding out hope.
Your hope is like nowhere to be found, man. That hope is false. Like it is like we get this, Thrawn, march, like whatever. And then they're just stormtroopers, and they're missing like normal stormtroopers, and they're just falling, and there's no green smoke. So Merrick, who cares about Merrick anymore? Like it just doesn't matter. None of this matters. It's all just looks. I feel like, have you ever had a Kinder Egg?
No, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
All right. It's like you look at this Kinder Egg and it's like, oh, it's like a chocolate egg and it's really big and it's hollow on the inside. It's just like, I mean, there's like a little dumb toy in it. But like it's just a shell. That's what this show is. It's just a shell that looks cool and looks like it's going to be like, there's some awesome stuff in there, and it's just a Kinder Egg. That's what this show is.
What is this stormtrooper doing? His partner gets shot, and he, oh no, I'll shoot again.
Also, like they had the drop on him, like not right now, but later, when they have like Shin is like kill him, and they're supposed to be taking orders, and they're like,
that's where we're
he just
at.
starts talking. Yeah. Ezra's just like, don't you want to take us prisoner? Like, and they don't listen to their person who's in charge.
Yep.
Like they're just like, oh, let's hear him out. You want to hear him out? You want to hear him? Let's hear him out. Like, no, you're supposed to kill him. Like, and that was even Thrawn said that, destroy them. And they're just like, well, let's just maybe he's got some good points. Let's just consider this. I feel like all the stormtroopers just immediately turned into Taika Waititi.
Oh gosh, that's
It's
funny.
so disappointing, man.
Let me add to it. So, I'm gonna add. Here's where I was disappointed in regards to this in Thrawn. This isn't what Thrawn would do. This isn't what Thrawn would do. Thrawn would not send two gunships of stormtroopers into an unknown place to fight. He thinks a Jedi and a Mandalorian. If he had their position, already has shown he does not care about Baylan or Shin. Why does he not just blast that like he did, trying to blast Ahsoka? Why there is no loss of life if he just tries to explode that area of the planet and rain it down? Why not send in an airstrike? What are they going to do
That's
about
what I
an
thought was
airstrike?
going to happen when you talked about gunships.
Not, and I would have been less upset about that if they had been gunships and actually shooting, but not getting out of the ship in this pincer maneuver. But they wanted to show the pincer maneuver and all this stuff, which it did nothing. And so that one strategy from Thrawn in this episode is exactly the opposite of what Thrawn would do. That's what you would expect to happen. He would do something very different, or he would do nothing and let them just be and go, we're not sending in anyone else. Shin can handle it. Oh, Shin can't handle it? Oh, well, like he said earlier in 2 episodes ago, he doesn't care what happens to Shin and Baylan. So why did he send in troopers now? Why all of a sudden? Yeah. That frustrated me. So
yeah, man, it doesn't seem like that's like, oh, this is the most intelligent general that's out there, like strategic military mind, that it will be a threat to the entire galaxy. I don't get that vibe from him. I want it to be.
Yeah.
Like his entrance was baller. Like I was expecting to see some of that stuff, and we're just not getting it. And now it's too late. It's too late for everything.
No, it's not too late. It is though.
And we, like that theory that we had, like that I talked about of like, oh, that's why you have the 3 ships,
Over.
waiting at CTOS. Like they're gone now. And so we're not going to get some big military, like Thrawn just devastating people. We're not even going to get that. I have zero hope that this show is going to follow through with anything that it set up. Like it feels like it's all just set up for this movie and building more IP. And I feel like I've been tricked, man. Like this is all just corporate Disney stuff to build more intrigue for different things that they're going to do, and we're just not going to see follow through on almost any of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, the bar coming into this, I think, for a lot of Star Wars fans, is it going to be better than Kenobi and better than Boba Fett? And we've at least gotten that, but we have not. And we've gotten some moments of peak Star Wars, I think. Some great moments in this show as a show overall, but this episode has really pulled me back, and I don't want to be the sky is falling, but I just see too many threads and too many opportunities to fix simple things. Like, again, we've got all of these folks here. We've got and Ezra still has no clue he's not going home. He has no clue. I still can't believe he hasn't pressed that. I know we mentioned it earlier. I think that the way that they even did this, and I would miss this reunion, and it comes all the way to the end. They get this hug, and then we got 7 minutes of credits. And
how disappointing was that, man? Like, did you feel it? Like I felt it. I was like, for real? Like another one of those episodes. So I was just like, like you look at the runtime, you're like, okay, like 45 minutes or whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then you're just like, wait, it's over?
Yeah, and I knew it. I knew it was happening as soon as Shin left. I was like, "Oh, this is the end, isn't it? This is the end of the episode. It's over." And I will say, I would take back a lot of my criticism, some of my criticism, if here at the end, instead instead of just ending happy, Ezra looks right at Ahsoka and says, "What's going on? What is going? How are we getting out of here?" And Sabine at that point owns up. Right? And that's how the episode ends. We don't know how Ezra's going to react. We don't like that would have at least given me they at least addressed something in this episode that was concrete that needed answered, but they didn't even do that.
Yeah, I think what you're wanting is like character development.
Yeah, that'd
And
be
that's not what this show is.
that'd be
Like,
helpful.
this show is once again, it's a cartoon. It is Rebels season 5, but it's not live action Rebels. Like this is just straight up Rebels. Because all the important conversations about like context, about, what is actually happening, what is actual directive, like why are people acting the way that they are, it's all off screen.
Hmm.
Like we get little things like, tell me again about the Empire falling. Like we don't get to see Ezra's reaction to like, yeah, man, your move that you made set up how the rebellion could be victorious. Like if it wasn't for Ezra, like who knows whether Thrawn would have been still in the picture
Mm-hmm.
and would have still been commanding, armies. Like everything could have been different. Like we don't get that realization for him as a character. It's just off screen. Like everything that is important as far as dialogue, context, what people are doing with their motivations, we have to read in between the lines. That's how cartoons work, where all like the dialogue is quips and like, little things or lines that don't make sense. Nobody talks that way.
Hmm.
Like it's just like, oh, that would be a cool line here or cool line there. This would be a funny quip to say back there. No, people want to know. Ezra would, of course, he would be like, what is happening? You got to tell me. Like, how did you get here? Like after like, all right, the first scene makes sense. Makes sense to be like, okay, we'll get there. We'll get there. But like you're alone driving and you're not just like forcing that and just being like, and then even here, like you're saying, of course it would be normal person's like response to be like, what the heck is happening? Who are these
Dean,
guys?
they just faced nomads, dark Jedi, and stormtroopers all within a 2-3 minute sequence. And he doesn't think to say, what? How did Thrawn
Yeah.
even find me? Oh, he
Yeah.
tracked you, Sabine. How did Thrawn track you, Sabine? Like, yes, and I know we're being pretty straightforward and harsh, but I think these are the gaps in this story. And you can still love this show, and I do still love this show, but this is super problematic, and this is really bad writing to just let a character continue to be ignorant and continue to be carefree. He's been gone for 9 years, and you're not going to tell me that when all of a sudden the nomads are teaming up with a dark Jedi and stormtroopers, that it wouldn't go, what is going on? Like, this isn't normal. You obviously are here, and it's caused a problem with Thrawn also, right? Like,
Like the one thing I will say is that I think the dialogue about where Zeb and Hera
that was
ended
helpful.
up, that seemed like something like a normal person would be like very curious about where their friends ended up, and like to be like
Yep.
impressed with where they ended up. That's like that's good, but it's just so much of the writing for this show I just look at and it's just. I mean, cool lines are cool, like the battle lines and everything that people say, like the line that Balin said, like that's all interesting stuff, but it's just like the way that people discuss things on this show. It's all in like statement of fact about things that they didn't show.
Mm.
And it's just like, why can't we just get like the dialogue about them, sitting down? I would much rather have had 15 minutes of Ezra and Sabine at a campfire with the turtle people discussing all of this stuff. And that would make so much more sense. If it was that night, like, cause they showed them during the day, like if it was like that night at a campfire and just like, all right, you've had a couple hours to rest. Like, what's going on here? Like stuff like that. This isn't the way people behave. It's not the way that people talk. And every time I'm like expecting there to be just like more context about things that are happening. And we just never get the context. And that's not how people discuss things.
So here's my rewrite of the last 2 episodes. Hearing your thoughts on the campfire. They just in regard to Sabine, Ezra, and this whole thing. Sabine and Ezra meet. I'm fine with that interaction. I'm fine with how that goes and all of that. They don't immediately pack up. They sit down. They talk. Sabine tells the truth. All of a sudden, Ezra finds out that there's a danger, an actual danger that is to his friends, his new friends. And you're saying, Sabine, wait, could they have followed you? Is it possible that you've led them right to me? And Sabine going, oh no, maybe it is. And now they get packed up and they leave with urgency because they need to move. All of a sudden, now you're like, oh no, they're being hunted. And they know they're being hunted. And now it becomes something intense. You could have done that all in one scene last episode. And then you start this episode with them being hunted already. You don't have to have all this other stuff. And just even something as simple as that, then all of a sudden clears a lot of this up. And so when Ahsoka shows up, because Ahsoka didn't show up yet, when Ahsoka shows up, now the first conversation is, good to see you. What's the plan?
Yeah. But we're not going to have anything about the plan.
Because they don't have one. There is no plan.
Well, they're just, even if they did, they wouldn't show it. Like that's just the way these shows are working right now, where we want to hear, how are we going to stop this and all that stuff, but we're just not going to get those. We're going to get them, just on their way, and they'll be like, hey, remember the plan, and they'll be like, yeah, and we'll just never know what that is.
So here's the theorize. What is the plan, Dean? What are they going to do? Where do they go from here? What actually happens? And why is Baylan not going to show up in any of it?
I honestly don't care. Like, I don't know. Like, I have lost all hope that there's going to be any answers. Like, the interesting things about, like, what is, like, still, we don't know anything about this galaxy. We're in a new galaxy. That's so cool. And we just don't know anything about what's going on here. Like, other than like the Red Mothers were in charge, like the Night Sisters were some kind of empire, and we just don't get any of that. Like the Stormtroopers, that's all, like all this like really cool stuff. I just feel like we're not getting answers to any of those things. So the only thing that's really like of like what could happen is like, I guess they get back. And like, I don't think that they're going to take another Purgle. Like, I think that they're going to hide away on Thrawn's ship somehow. But like, that's the only directive that I see them going in. I think at this point, we like, even if Ezra had been like, oh, like if there are dark Jedi here, there's a power here that I need to protect, or something, like to like go after Baylan. Like, that would be really interesting, but we don't get anything like that, which also is problematic. Cause like, why can't, if Baylan can feel something through the Force, that there's something calling to him, Ezra's been here for a decade and he doesn't feel there's anything, or doesn't feel like there's a need to defend anything, like any power on this planet, like almost like he's a guardian, like a caretaker in some way. Nothing like that. So I don't see them going after Balin.
Hmm.
And so like the only direction is just back to Thrawn. And like I don't see them beating Thrawn because you can't beat the big bad, like right before the movie that's going to have the big bad in it. So like it's just I guess they get back on the ship and they go home. And that just seems so boring to me when we had so much intrigue. Like that was why I liked last episode so much, was like, what is this galaxy? Who are the Red Mothers? Like what are they planning? Who are these stormtroopers? What is this power that Balin's after? And I feel like we're not getting answers to any of those things. So it's just, I guess we go back to the galaxy now. That's not super cool.
Well, and yeah, without answers. And I think that you could have had Balin, as you were talking, I was thinking about this. I'm like, how do we get answers? How could we have gotten answers? Because we've already decided, and I'm in agreement. I don't think we're going to get answers. I think Balin, even in this episode, even if just in this episode, Balin had described more to Shin where he's going and what he's doing. Even if it was just that, even if Balin had said, hey, you're going to pursue this, here's what I'm pursuing.
Yeah.
There's a dark power here on this planet. It is what has formed blah, blah, blah. And you do whatever storytelling through that. And even if you have to go to a vision of some kind, and which feels out of character for Star Wars to do something like that, but do it. That would have been, you could have done that instead of these pods, or you could have had an hour-long episode and gotten through that. But yeah, I don't think we're going to get any of those answers. My fear is that we're not even going to leave Peridia. I don't think we're leaving Peridia at the end of this episode.
Like as in like they're not going to be able to get back, or they're just not going yet.
Yeah, it's going to end with the unknown of whether or not they are going to get off.
Oh my goodness. Like that sucks. Like
maybe I'm wrong.
I'm really
I hope
disappointed.
I'm wrong.
I wanted to love this show. I hope people get that. Like I am not a hater. I love Star Wars, and I like a lot of Obi-Wan. Like Boba Fett, like wasn't the best show, but like I like Mando. I loved Andor, but like I want to be behind this stuff. But it's just like you keep on being like, "Ooh, isn't this cool?" and then just not doing anything. If they were to just like sit there and park on top of that tower and just be like, well, yeah, we ran out of fuel, or we ran into this hiccup, or Ezra, he snuck in here and he stopped us from going to hyperspace, like if it's something like that, no thank you. That just, it feels like such a slap in the face to me, and I don't want that to happen. Like I don't want Star Wars, like I hate the negativity that's attached to so much of Star Wars right now. And I want to enjoy it. I want to be like one of the really positive voices, but they're just not letting me, man. like anything I get jazzed for, they're just like, nope, we're not going to answer that. We're not going to do that. If they just stay there in that galaxy, I think that would be such a mistake.
Now, everything that I've seen from people that have said leaks, I don't know what's going to happen, but everyone has said there's going to be a major cliffhanger of some kind. So I don't know what that's going to be. I retract all of my theories of someone dying. They're not going to kill anyone. No one dies in Star Wars anymore. Everyone will be alive and well, and no one will be even injured. No one will even lose a hand or a foot or an eye, nothing. And so I think it's going to be something lame, and I didn't feel that way after episode 6, but this episode, I came into tonight positive, and I'm leaving negative, but that's okay.
That's just from hanging out with me, man. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm Eeyore.
No, but I mean, I've watched the episode twice. I enjoyed it. Like, here's the thing that frustrates me. I enjoyed what I watched, but when I start to actually think about it, like, that's the problem. If you watch Star Wars and don't think, you're fine. But once you start thinking about it, you go, oh, it's not as. I'll even say the same thing happened when I saw the sequel trilogy in the theaters. I walked out of a lot of them going, I had a fun time. And then I started thinking, going, oh, I actually don't like that.
Yeah, when you
And
think about like the potential, that's
Mhm.
always the killer. Is like the potential of where things could have gone. That's where it gets like, man, that's disappointing.
And I see so much potential. And I see so much potential in Balin. I see so much potential in Ezra. And I think they could have done some incredible things. And I'm not saying that I'm always right or you're always right. And we're not. We're just two Star Wars fans saying what we think. But I think that we there is no longer, and I was watching Star Wars Theory, and here's the last thing I want to talk about because it's his theory that I want to give to you and see how you react.
Oh no.
But he had said someone was complaining that he wasn't super positive about this episode because he wasn't either, and he was
Okay.
basically saying how like no, well, Star Wars fans have a right to be like we have no trust. We've been so beaten up. So here's his theory. His theory is everything we experienced this episode was a lie. And what I mean by that is Ezra is not really Ezra. Ezra is a figment and a magic made by the the Red Mothers, and that he is somehow probably still trapped on the ship and imprisoned, and he was just a decoy. That's his theory.
I kind of love it. Like if it could be a rewrite, like of like, oh that's not Ezra. Ezra's way cooler than that, or like more powerful, and we had to contain him, or like something like that, or we're using some of his power in some way. Like I'm game for that. Like I mean, again, I like the goofiness as
Yeah.
long as like I don't know why. RRR just keeps on coming into my mind. Like if there's a character in RRR, the tiger guy, I forget his name, but he's a goofball like Ezra,
Mm-hmm.
but he's also like boss. Like he just like has like these incredible fight scenes and like can get very serious. And I feel like that's what Ezra can do. He's a complex character. And I just feel like we keep on getting goofiness. So if it was all just like some weird Night Sister magic, mirage kind of thing, I am totally cool with it. That
Hence,
sounds awesome.
hence why his eyes are like extra blue and a little weird. And then it would have been like, now it makes sense why he was so casual about letting Sabine go get him, and he's never been chasing him down.
Yeah.
And
So are all the turtle people in Mirage too?
I don't know. Maybe he didn't go into that much detail, but
It's not happening. I don't think
no.
it's going to happen, but it would be really cool.
It's the same reason why Anakin was really Anakin and not anything else. Why? Because these are the first reunions of these characters, and if these reunions are fake, I think they don't have the guts to make a fake reunion. Though the gut wrench,
But they
that
don't
it
have the guts to tell us it is a real reunion.
yeah. Well, I think
For me at least.
yeah. So
All right. Here's what I'll say for my last theory.
yeah, let's hear it.
All right. Because every episode Hera shows up. I don't know how or why, but she's always there. And so Hera's going to be in this finale. I think that Hera's getting ships and she's going back to Cetos, and we're still going to get that Navy battle. Like we're still going to get the space battle, but it won't be those 3 ships. It'll be like the whole military is waiting for Thrawn, and he still wipes them out and then moves on. Like if that were to happen and we get like a 10-minute battle sequence of Thrawn coming back and taking on the whatever is left, because we know it's peace times, right? So there's not as many ships and everything. But if he comes in and wrecks whatever they have waiting for him, because now we got, Leia lending some power to Hera, And Mon Mothma said, like, is this threat actually real? And she's like, we have to prepare for the worst. And because Harris shows up in every episode, no matter what, like, then I think that maybe that's where we could go. And if that were to happen, I'd be like, okay, like, we can at least end on a high note. You know, maybe we don't get the answers we want, but we could have a really cool battle sequence and show Thrawn to be actually capable rather than just like, let's sit back and let's see how this plays out, you know?
I would add one more thing to that, and then Thrawn walks into the Shadow Council.
Ooh. I think that's kind of like a no-brainer. Like that's going to be part of it. Also, Hera dies.
Ooh.
Like, let's go with that and actually add some stakes.
And you cut to Jason.
Poor little baby Jason.
Broken, and now he'll be trained by Ezra. See,
That's all I want. Give me the spin-off show of Ezra training Jason.
But the
and
real
I
Ezra.
will forgive everybody.
But the real Ezra, not the magic fake Ezra that we just watched.
Not magic Ezra. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, here I'm still hopeful. I'm still hopeful that the episode will be enjoyable and good. I might not see the path to get there right now. But I'm gonna
You
be
got a
hopeful.
week. You got a week to prepare yourself.
Yeah. Well,
Come up with some theories.
yeah, well, I've got some other videos I've been working on that are not Ahsoka related, because after this I was like, I need to think about some other things.
I'm moving on.
But yeah, so guys, I appreciate you for being here. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. I'd greatly appreciate it. There's R2D2 reminding you to do that as well. And as always, I want to just mention, if you haven't checked out, if you like these theory videos and going off, I know some of you have found my channel recently. If you have not checked out the 2 theory videos that I did, particularly around what if George Lucas had never sold Star Wars, you should go check that out. I think you'd enjoy that video. I'll link it at the end card on Dean's face. We'll put it on Dean's face. Yeah, that's right. Oh no. But we will be back next Wednesday, and then we'll see what happens. I hope we're cheering and having fun and not mad and angry, curmudgeon-y guys in our basements talking about Star Wars.
I can't help it.
Hey,
I want to be happy.
I don't think you're wrong. I agree with much of what you've said. I just hope you're wrong.
I'm gonna be like Batman in Mask of the Phantasm, being like, I didn't count on being happy. Let it be okay that I'm happy. Oh yeah.